One question that I received this morning is that why is this called female entrepreneurship? And why is when men speak, it is never called male entrepreneurship? And that was a very good question. And I said, well, actually the title of this workshop is a little bit different because it should have been that we speak about with 4 nominees to be the Sustainable Female Entrepreneur of the Year. So one of them is selected. Later on, you can guess who it was, and that is now we will say it at the end. So we have 4 nominees, and I would like to welcome the 4 of you to please come forward and give them a small applause. 4 great entrepreneurs, I dare to say. I was at the selection or the election, or how you want to call it, for Entrepreneur of the Year. So I would like to leave female out of it. So you're an Entrepreneur of the Year. So you all do something. So I would like to start with a brief introduction. Maybe you can start.
Sure. Hi everybody, my name is...
We have a microphone,
oh, yeah.
But I think we can all also hear it. I think it's not...
Hi everybody, my name is Deborah Orridge. I'm the co-founder of Soilbeat. And Soilbeat is a software platform that helps farmers to transition from conventional agriculture to regenerative agriculture. And we do that by collecting data and applying data science and facilitate workflows. Yep.
Hi, my name is Anne. I'm the founder of Paper on the Rocks. We transition the paper industry, which is one of the most polluting industries in the world. We create tree-free paper that uses less resources like water and energy in the production of beautiful papers.
I'm Larry Goff. I'm the founder and CEO of Outlander Materials, which is a biotech and materials science company in Rotterdam. And we work to transition high sugar streams that come out of food production and agriculture, and through biotechnology convert them into non-plastic alternatives for thin film flexible packaging materials.
Hi, my name is Ananda. I'm founder of Reliving. Reliving is a curated marketplace for secondhand furniture. Every year in Europe alone, over 60 million pieces of furniture are thrown away, while most of it could be reused. And we're offering a way that everyone can choose secondhand, and our goal is to make secondhand first choice.
Well, that's them. Isn't that great? Great entrepreneur. And that is great companies. And so, first of all, when you have a question, or when you want to interrupt, when you want to get involved in the discussion, please go ahead. Just raise your hand, and then, because we try to make this as interactive as possible. What the first question that I would like to pose here for the 4 of you is: startups quite often have a financing issue, and I was wondering, and we were wondering when we discussed it before, when we prepared this, is it now different to be a woman when you want to get financing? You can say, well, it was a strange question, but is it different? Well, how do you think?
Yeah, I would definitely say that there's a difference between women raising capital and men. Obviously, I witnessed it myself. With a marketplace, you need quite a lot of funding. And we had some situations with, actually, the first talk that I had was with a venture capitalist, and that woman said to me, you know, I'm just going to tell you how it works, because basically, if a man comes in, we will ask him about his future plans. But when a woman comes in, we always want to see what they have achieved so far. So it's a really big difference, like, where do you want to go with your company, or what have you achieved so far? Luckily, we did raise funding, but it was a really big hurdle. We did get comments like, are these females capable of running this type of business? Or you with your meubeltjes, so small furniture, like, so we really entered some cases which were not that friendly, but we did achieve to get some funding. And I do have to say, I do think it has to do with the fact that in those funds, a female was working there who brought us in. I think it's a different type of communication that we have, women to women and men to female. And I think within this industry, there's a lot to be done still. Yeah,
A lot to be done.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is. How much did you raise, if you want to say that?
We now raised up to 2.2 million in total.
Okay. 2.2.
But for a marketplace, we need more.
Yeah. It is, but it's already quite a lot of money in one round or in several rounds?
2 rounds.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And is there anything you also raised money, Anne? You raised money?
Yeah, I really would like to add to that. I feel as a female entrepreneur, you have to really break the ground because it's not that usual that a female entrepreneur enters a room and asks for funding. It's relatively new. So it's not like when you enter a discussion as an entrepreneur that is male, people know this structure of doing business. They are used to funding men, maybe. And we see there's really a gap in funding for female entrepreneurs. So there is an issue. I don't think that the topic is if there is an issue, it's how are we going to deal with that issue. For example, I would love to give one example. I had a discussion for my second funding round with a Dutch fund, a pretty big fund. 2 men enter the room. I was with my financial controller, who is a 50-year-old man. He's really super competent. The whole discussion was between the 2 guys and this man. I was just sitting there and I was explained what it means to give out a loan to a company by the 2 men from the fund. So after a while, I said, if you're going to talk with this guy, I'm sorry, but it's not going to work because he's not leading the company. And then the guy who was in my team said, yeah, as a matter of fact, I don't know anything about funding a company. I'm not running this company. I'm just doing the financial part of the company. And the 2 guys, they said, but so how's this going to work? And then I said, well, it's not going to work. This discussion is over because I don't even know where to start. I am an entrepreneur. This is my company, and I want to work together with you to make this transition in the industry. So we really have to do that work and make it normal that a female entrepreneur raises money for a company that is changing the world.
How much did you raise?
We raised about 800,000 euros, which was enough because we're now break-even as a company.
Okay, good. Any other remarks? Because is there anybody here that has a feeling about this? Or so we are talking about those are 4 entrepreneurs, and they have a company that is in a regenerative economy. Yeah, it's about recycling more or less furniture. It is in bio. It's not. It's biotechnology, also kind of a biotechnology, but farming, regenerative farming. And changing the paper industry. So it's very...
Can I add something as well? I think, like, the 4 of us, we started from an intrinsic motivation to make a change, right? We are working, all 4 of us, on a business model which can work. However, if we talk to impact investors, and trust me, they are obviously more motivated to work with companies like us, we are still only judged about the GMV or the revenue that we are creating every year. Yeah, it's nice, the impact obviously, but it's not on the same level. And I think this is something that really needs to change in the investment world, is that we don't look only at, for example, we had 300% growth in the last couple of years, this year not, but we are still aiming to become a large marketplace. But this is the only number that is important right now. It's great that we make impact, but it's only about the growth. And I think that that's also a conversation that needs to be changed, because we don't only market a product, we also want to change behavior. So we have a double challenge. Yeah. So yeah, I feel like there's a lot of work to be done there on that level. Yeah.
Is there anything, Laurie, are you in financing already or in that stage?
We're officially raising a round now.
Okay, how much?
2 million.
2 million. Yeah. And how is that going?
Something we've seen is that myself and many other female entrepreneurs have a tendency to be very open about the uncertainties in a process. So we doubt, we're reflecting, trying to understand where the risks are. But investors often see this openness about the doubt not as awareness and an intelligent strategy to assess risk and develop a strategic development plan around that, but as uncertainty, lack of confidence, unprepared. And so they see this as very negative, and then they hold back from investing. When in fact, this open expression of doubt allows you to lay out the plan. It's one of the leading factors of why female-led companies often outperform males by double. And they have, I think they contribute $3 trillion to the American economy every year. So I think that there should be a type of re-evaluation of daring to doubt and consider that a key success factor for both male and female leaders.
Do you expect that you will go quickly through your fundraising round?
I expect it will be painful, but that we'll make it.
Yeah, and how's your financial situation?
Yeah, so we just raised 600K, and reflecting on this question, I have to say that I didn't feel a difference or being like met differently as a woman. And maybe also I feel that being a woman also gives more room to have a certain playfulness around the uncertainties, or to, I don't know, I also felt that it just adds some extra, I don't know, sensation to the conversation, maybe because I'm less strict or less rigid. And that also really helped, actually, in the conversations with investors. You know, it's also like I'm okay to be vulnerable and to be open about uncertainties. And I also felt that was actually greatly appreciated. So I also think it's not a given, as it's not a standard that per se as a woman is more difficult. But
no, that's good to hear.
If we turn those,
it's not all sad.
Yeah, no, exactly. And if we turn those feelings into like an advantage, it can actually also help.
Yeah, that's good to hear. By the way, I'm going on with questions, and they keep on talking. So whenever you want to jump in again, jump. And that is because the other topic, besides financing, is that you're all fighting the status quo in a sense. You're doing a different kind of agriculture. You're fighting an industry that is very stubborn, the paper industry, almost violent, almost aggressive. If you do something different, they're survival for life, fighting for survival. You are doing a different. So, is there any experience that you can share how that goes? You're fighting the existing market, the status quo, as I always call it. You want to change, and can you say something? The farmers.
Yeah.
world.
So in my field, it's actually really about de-risking the change. And what was said earlier this morning was about facilitating baby steps. So if I can help a conventional farmer to even experiment on a small plot with regenerative farming, then for me, that's already a win. And if he's then confident about a small step, then I will know that he will slowly increase his openness to regenerative agriculture. So if I go in full force, I will meet resistance. If I wiggle my way in with little baby steps, then that helps.
Yeah, the baby steps, or those who were not here this morning, was used by Marit van Albert Heijn, making baby steps. All the baby steps together could be bigger than the big step. And that is if you add them all up. So that is a nice example. And how is that for the paper?
Yeah, well, about the baby steps, well, I didn't go in with the baby steps. So I went in with a straight leg when I started my company, and met with a lot of resistance, which in the end was good, I think, because now all of a sudden the Dutch paper industry as well wants to change. And this is something that I know from the people who have been in that industry to try to changes for the past 30 years, left the industry because nothing happened. They now joined forces with us because they do want that change, but nobody ever created the room for it to exist. They were just fighting to stay alive. And now, yeah, there's increasing pressure on the industry to change, and we created that. Yeah.
How did you do that?
Well, first, we went to the media a lot. So we really spoke about the issues in the paper industry. There's a lack of transparency. We don't talk about the issues of making paper, which is that we are polluting our waters, we are destroying the ecosystems in the forests, and we just ignore that fact because there's this whole narrative that cutting down a tree to create paper is circular because we can plant a new tree, but the tree takes up to 30 years to become a healthy tree. Then it also needs an environment where there's a biodiverse situation going on, which is not the case anymore. It's just a plantation. And that is the narrative that we pushed. And that was met with a lot of hate and resistance. We got a lot of emails saying, you know, you're destroying us. And we replied, yeah, you're destroying our forests. So I'm sorry, we're not going to go away. But you can join us because we do want to work together. And now, after 8 years, we are working together. And this has also to do with the fact that we show what we can do for them, what the alternatives are. They are available. So it's not enough to just go to the media and say, you know, this is going in the wrong direction. You also have to create the new.
And I heard some violent stories from Anna. They're really, really aggressive. That you think, well, wow, what is this? You know, and that is that something in the furniture industry, for example? I think that's much more friendly, or not?
So friendly, yeah. They're all
The
my
meubeltjes.
calls. Yeah, the meubeltjes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think what I really so the reason for me to start this marketplace is also because I've seen the impact, right, of a Vinted on the clothing industry and all the awareness that started about the impact of fast fashion. And yeah, I think the media is really helping, not even, you know, in awareness, but also in legislation, right? And now you see it in all the parties. And yeah, so for me to create that same awareness for furniture, because when I started, a lot of people who were already eco-conscious, they were like, yeah, you know, I buy my clothes secondhand. And then I would ask, how about your furniture? And nobody had a clue, because nobody really knows what the impact is of the production of a couch, right? Well, I do now, but it has a big impact. So yeah, for us, it's more about showing that every item which has a small scratch or anything has value, you know? So what you see in the retail industry with furniture brands is that whenever an item is damaged, it will be thrown away. So for example, with the retouren, the returns, yes. A big problem is that once it's being returned by a customer and there's like a little scratch on it, they will throw it away. And I think that whole perception of how do we change this mindset that when something is damaged, it has no value anymore. It's being afgeschreven. That how do we change that around into a more circular model? So what I am doing actually is talking to brands, but also, like, for example, we started a collaboration last year with Vonk and VT Wonen. We are now selling secondhand furniture on their platform to show, like, secondhand isn't dirty, secondhand isn't old or for cheap. It's cheap, you know, for people with a small income, but it's for everyone, and we should be more thinking of how we can reuse our stuff more. So yeah, it's nice because we can talk with the brands and they're open to it. But I think the whole perception, actually, quick, is that I had a talk yesterday with somebody of one of the largest retailers of fast furniture, and they were like, we're just gonna change if legislation is pushing us, otherwise we will not do it, you know. Yeah. So yeah.
And Laurie, is that in your biotech industry, are you new coming in, or are you also pushing, or are you a dangerous threat to people in your industry?
No. I'd say we're the new kid on the block, and we're very welcomed within biotech, and packaging, surprisingly, is a very accepting industry. where they're really open to innovation and they want it. So we have regular talks with them. They're excited to look into new materials and see how they can incorporate them. And we find that we have the same challenge, is that we struggle to scale up and meet the capacity that they require, and they struggle to have these new materials be at that capacity. So we're trying to find ways so that we can meet this in the middle and move forward.
Yeah. No, I can imagine that if you have an old industry, the paper industry is of course pretty old, 100 years old, and that is that they are more afraid than a very innovative industry that you're in, Laurie, or not?
Yeah, if I can add to the scaling issue, because that's something that we are also facing. I think it's a matter of joining forces is necessary. We have to create the skill for these new innovations to leave the laboratories and enter the industrial phase. And this is something that we need to, how to translate that? We need to do that together. So also to everybody here in this room and the talks we had this morning about co-creating new products from new materials. For example, what we do, we create notebooks made from stone paper. And this is to showcase that the transition to a new paper material is not that difficult and it's not ugly. It's just the same, but with a different production process, which is less harmful. So we create the retail collection of notebooks for Versace, for example, because they said, we want beautiful notebooks, the most beautiful notebooks in the world. And we just made a proposition for them. Okay, we can make the most beautiful notebooks for you. And they're also the most sustainable notebooks in the world. And they said, okay, well, let's do this. And we've been on this continued partnership for 3 years now. And this is what we really need also for your material, of course. Otherwise, we're never going to leave the laboratory and we're never going to have that change in the world.
By the way, are there any questions that you want to ask? You don't have to stick to the same topic, by the way.
Yes.
Did you see them? Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Can you tell in 2 sentences what that was?
Yeah, I can share what it was. We created a notebook that was the memoirs of Mark Rutte. And when you open the book is empty. On the front cover, you see a guy on a bike waving, which is like the standard image of Mark Rutte in the press. And then the heading of the notebook is, daar heb ik geen actieve herinnering aan. The message in the notebook actually explains that it's really relevant to have an active memory when you are a member of the parliament in any country. And if you have the dream to become the MP of a country, please write down what you want to do. And keep that active memory also when it comes to the world that we are existing in together. And this was met with a lot of enthusiasm also in the Tweede Kamer. Yeah,
also by Mark Rutte himself.
Yes, he also.
So you had a question.
Yes, would you say that collaboration is the most important thing to make big impact for your company, or is there another element that we haven't heard yet?
Deborah.
Well, so for us, collaboration is the most critical component. In fact, the collaboration goes on multiple dimensions. It goes collaboration with the entire value chain, so also with the offtake, with the retail, to communicate that regenerative food is actually healthier. It's also collaboration with the universities, where there's a lot of new science and soil health being discovered that needs to trickle down to the farmer, because otherwise it stays in an ivory tower. So there's collaboration, and even also collaboration with other software partners. Because if you're a software partner by yourself and you're in an island, that's not going to work, because people don't want to do double entry. So you even have to collaborate with all the other software companies to create like a patchwork of relevant software for the farmer. So the collaboration is honestly in every dimension thinkable, critical. And maybe that's also where talking about female entrepreneurship, where females have a more open nature to collaboration and a more forward approach and a more transparent approach, which really fosters collaboration. So I think that's also something that we are particularly prone to be better at.
Any other remarks?
Yeah, I think that I agree with you. Like for me, obviously, I want to extend the life cycle of furniture, and I think for me, what's really important is that I do it. You know, I can only make impact with everyone if we all work together. So that's why I think collaboration is so important, so that we can change the whole industry together and not me as a small player in the field. But yeah, there's still a long road to go.
Who's your biggest competitor?
Depends on how you see it, right? Because I think you have Marktplaats on the one side, but I don't see them as a competitor in a way, because I think they're doing something good as well. Although I do feel, and that's why I started, is that you get a secondhand experience, is how I would say it. But I think it's mostly the fast furniture industry, right? Because they're producing furniture for such cheap prices, and you're not able to extend the life cycle of a product for that long. I think those are our biggest competitor, but also an opportunity to work with them in the future together to change this.
Now I was wondering, like, collaboration in media is something that we need to take in consideration also as a female entrepreneur. But is there also another element that we really need to know that maybe I have not seen yet, or that we should focus on as a female entrepreneur?
Yeah, that was also my last question, and that had to do with. It's always a dangerous question if you want to go for gender. Is there a gender-specific thing? But we made it up with the five of us together, that question. So questions also, I think, a little bit, are there any other gender-related issues? No, is that a little bit what you mean?
Like as an entrepreneur,
not as a female entrepreneur, as an entrepreneur. Go ahead.
So my best advice for an entrepreneur is first a lawyer, then an accountant. Okay. And then to get really comfortable with the idea that this is going to be painful. Embrace the suck. It is so difficult. It's difficult every day, every week, every year. You are challenged constantly with your place in the world, who you are as a person, what you want to do, your business. It is so difficult. But once you realize that, accept it, and embrace it, then it becomes fun. It's a whole why the fuck not kind of moment, and you just start dancing with it.
Do you like it, what you do?
So much.
Do you smile? Well, okay, good. Instead, it's
love-hate some days, but mostly it's amazing.
Yeah, I fully agree that is important. And I also think another element of it is trust. I think for me, as a female entrepreneur, I've really missed that feeling of being trusted as an entrepreneur by financiers, by partners, by the industry, which is maybe also has something to do with the way I started this company towards the industry. But for example, I fell really ill last year. I had to leave my company for a year because I had a stroke. I couldn't speak anymore. And then I needed people to trust the process to make sure that the company would continue. And if I wouldn't have had the partners that I had, like the financiers and the team, who trusted that they were also capable of moving this forward, and also would trust that if I would have been able to speak again, which I am, I would return and we would go at it again together. So trust is something that something that you need to give to entrepreneurs who want to change an industry. You need to work from the trust as a starting point, and trust doesn't need to be earned. You don't need to earn it by showing that you can create the change, but you have to be able to have the trust and the space, the safe space to work on it. Because if we don't have that trusted space, change is not going to happen, because nobody likes to be like pushed around every day, be in a stress situation every day. We need to start from the trust.
I give you this for a minute only.
Thanks for your inspiring stories. My question is, like, what would you need or want to add to the B Corp movement, being female founders of these wonderful companies?
Is there anyone who wants to go first? No, but you don't have to be a B Corp to answer the question. You're asking what can you give to the community of B Corps?
A great example. Courage. What we could give?
Or need?
What do you need from the community? What can you... Because there's in another room there's about 150 financial groups, so you're in the wrong room now, but anyway, it's...
I think like what I could give to start off with is a new way of thinking, a new way, you know, we're creating a path for secondhand, you know, reuse, recycle. I know that for retailers, this is a very important topic. I would love to talk about that, you know, think about how we can make this circle more round. On the other hand, what I could use is really people that want to roll up their sleeves, help us make this business model work. I know we have a model that works, but to really scale it properly, and obviously we're going to need more funding in the future, so that's something, but also give us the space to develop it, right? Instead of what has been your growth in the last month or so, because right now this is how we're still being, the success is only being judged on my revenue at this moment. So yeah, that's something that I would need in return. Yeah.
Anna, you want to go, Laurie? Well, Anna you're a B Corp.
Oh yeah. Yeah, maybe I can add a little bit about my experience with B Corp, because when I started the company, I immediately entered the B Corp sphere, and what I gained from that is mentors who really were there for me when, you know, you're just feeling like a failure or your company is going downhill and you don't know what to do anymore. You want to have somebody that you can call and can also trust to share your story, and who will say, hey, you know, we've gone through that as well. Let me see how I can help. And not just saying those words, but really acting on it. This is something that the B Corp community provided my company with from the start. And also something that I would love to give back now for new entrepreneurs, because you need to have others to surround you when you create a change.
I think something that would be phenomenally helpful would be a new imagining on how startups, particularly deep tech or sustainable startups, are funded. Models currently are based on the old way of investing, and subsidies are also really not that helpful. They're there, but they still slow down innovation. And so if the B group leaders, some of the wonderful, most compassionate minds around us, could come together and think about how do we reimagine funding? How can we bring this innovation much quicker, much bigger, much faster to bring this impact, well, yesterday.
What I would really welcome within the B Corp movement is an opportunity to talk with supply chains on really how we create system change. And one of the barriers in the system chains, especially for the farmers, is the whole discussion around risk. So how do we de-risk for actors in the value chain to do that change? Like, what is, you know, how can we accommodate that, and how can we make it for all the actors equally interesting and equally risk-free? And I think that is a dimension that is that needs a bit more attention in the whole quest for system change, in food system change. So I would welcome that discussion, and I would love to engage on that with supply chain actors.
Do you recognize that, Anita? The food chains and the risk, the de-risking, the small steps in the food chain. Anita is from Albert Heijn. So, or am I surprising you with?
You're surprising me, but it's fine. Yeah, no, I'm like it's important to.
Because they are working, of course, with the food chain, and you are helping the food chain in baby steps. We learned that. Lisette.
Yeah, I just want to respond to this because I'm involved with people who live in Australia who say regenerative farming brings better soil to the farmer and better carrots and everything, but it also brings biodiversity and healthy waters, healthy air to all of us. So we should reward them. And so we need completely different financial instruments, and they're developing that, and many others, I have no doubt, across the world, but I'm enveloped with these, and I can give you their names. To reward people who are doing something for all of us. Yeah. That was what I wanted to say. It's called Love to be Bright Green.
Love to be bright?
Love to be bright green.
Yes, me too.
So that is an action that is happening. Any other remarks, questions? Yeah? Alsjeblieft.
Thank you. Yeah, it's very interesting to hear your stories. And especially in the first part, I was actually thinking when you talked about, Anne Pleun, about your encounter with those male investors, I was actually thinking, are we not maybe facing a bit of a gap in literacy, so to say, in working with female entrepreneurs? And there's maybe one example that I want to highlight, because in the B Corp community, you see that indeed sometimes B Corps join forces to tackling also something which is a bit more systemic. It's not directly in favor of their own business. It's more like something they see. And one of the examples I want to share, Veronique Mistelli is here too, is that they developed this game, Let's Play Equal, which touches upon unconscious biases. And I think we're talking here about a very unconscious bias that exists still in the impact investor world, but probably much further than that, and this is really something that I want to at least mention here, that we need to step up as females, but ultimately as an inclusive group of people, to step up on these conversations and to really open up on these unconscious biases. So I think this is really one of the examples where this was really material again.
Thank you. Yeah, the game is called Let's Play Equal. It was played this morning when most of you were still voting, I think and hope. But so we had to play the game. We played, but if you want to know more about it, you can come to us, and we will give you the connections. And I just, before I give it to you, Anne, I know you want to speak. I want to say that is Tessa van Soest, and Tessa is the executive director of B-Lab Benelux. So you didn't introduce yourself, so I do it for you, because then they know who to go to. Yeah, or you grab the mic, not the microphone.
Well, yeah, thank you for that. I think it's important to mention that this is an unconscious bias. It's not like we are attacking male financiers or financiers in general. It's a matter of making sure that we keep in mind that we all have these unconscious biases, not only when it comes to gender, but also to a lot of inclusivity topics, which we haven't spoken about that much, I guess, today, but which is very relevant in the financing and in the entrepreneurial world in general.
I want to go to the rounding off of this session. We have a couple of minutes left. Ananda said, why don't you let us do a call to action? So a call to action, what is your call to action?
Well, please reach out. So currently we are a marketplace for buying and selling secondhand furniture. We want to work to become a circular marketplace, so that we, really take the whole supply chain from beginning to end and work towards becoming that circular marketplace. So if there are people who have experience in this field, please come and talk to me, because I really want to change this industry with other people. Eventually, we're going to need capital as well to scale up our company. So if that's something you want to
do you have
into.
a call to action, Deborah? Thank you, Ananda, for this call.
I guess my call to action would be a little bit on what I said earlier. I'm really looking for coalition partners to help facilitate farmers in the transition to regenerative agriculture. So if you are an actor somewhere in the supply chain or a knowledge institute, then please come and reach out.
Yeah, I also have a call to action. If you're using notebooks in your company or you have notebooks in your retail, please reach out, because we want to co-work to create sustainable notebooks that don't use any trees anymore. That's my call to action.
Maybe, Anna, you can, because you say stone paper. Some people make jokes that you need to to work hard to put a message on the paper. What is it? Is it made out of stone or what is it?
Yeah, well, we have multiple paper alternatives. So we have one which is made from stones, minerals, and that is bound together by a glue in a heating process. So it doesn't use any water. It uses 1/3 of the energy compared to regular pulp paper, but it feels different. It feels softer and it's a little bit heavier. Then we also have paper made from agricultural waste. And we have one paper type that is now leaving the laboratory phase and entering the industrial phase, which is really difficult. And that is made from Dutch grass, 100% local paper. So we need partners in that.
So it's like not Dutch wind that Dick is doing at Eneco. That green, that is Dutch grass, also green. So, Laurie, what is your call to action? Oh, a question. Sorry. I will run to you, because then people outside of this room online can also hear your question.
Thank you.
Alsjeblieft, Nikki.
Really fascinating stories. I really enjoy listening to them. And I have a question. I just learned through all the product innovation and product process, making products more sustainable in the cosmetics industry. I learned that we always have to look at LCAs to really determine what's more sustainable than before. What are your LCAs compared to wood?
Well, we do have LCAs for
Life cycle
analysis.
Life cycle analysis, where you kind of compare really the origin, where the material comes from, what the production process, the shipping, blah, 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 until the end, until the waste of a product. Because there's so many elements that you need to look at everything in order to determine what's more sustainable than the other, actually.
Yeah, I think that's a really relevant point. The agricultural waste paper has a 67% lower footprint in the LCA calculations compared to regular wood pulp. Then we have the stone paper, which has a lot of savings that were certified by Kiva and Cradle to Cradle, but there's not the possibility to create a closed LCA at the moment, because we don't have a recycling stream in the Netherlands yet for the stone paper, because it's a different process. So this is also a hurdle that you need to get over for that material. But I would be happy to share all the information about that as well. And the material that is now leaving the laboratory and entering the industrial phase, we need to create the LCA. So we do have the laboratory results, but we don't have an LCA yet, because we first have to have a working material. Yeah, but I would be happy to further discuss. Perfect.
But I didn't forget you, Laurie. So you still do the call to action, and then we really have to go ahead.
Then in order to wrap it up, I'll keep it on the packaging theme. Companies that are looking for alternative packaging and very interested in discussing like the end of life issues, because there's a lot of uncertainty happening with legislation across the EU with the end of life of packaging. I would very much like to discuss that further with you.
Good. Is there one final question from anybody? I don't want to leave Lisette. A question, not a you always have the last question. Yeah, you want to stand up even?
Well, I come to you towards you.
No, okay, go.
No, and I'm sorry I missed the beginning of this session due to an interesting conversation. But apart from bringing circularity and bringing new projects and products and ways of thinking, are you also structuring your company differently from the boys' game, so to say?
The boys' game, okay. So
quickly,
is there a different way of organizing your organization, or do you think it's basically the same as any other company?
For me, being a startup, you have to be super smart about how you spend all your money. So we're really steward ownership, for instance. We looked into steward ownership, but frankly, we've met a lot of resistance in fundraising for that, because investors aren't. It's still too new for investors, and they feel they don't have enough control. And in the end, investors want control. So we... Not all of them.
Later on, you should talk to Lisette about steward ownership.
Yeah, that's why we said, okay, then no steward ownership.
Any other big differences?
Well, we are working on restructuring the company right now. We started as a regular company. We also attracted some regular investors, apparently. So we have a lot of conversations right now to restructure the company. Also because, yeah, it really highlighted last year my falling away, that it's not that wise to have a company that's on my shoulders. So I really want to change that, but it's a difficult path, yeah.
We don't have a formal structure that's different. Only the way that we operate internally is predominantly flat. So everything is discussed when we keep open transparency as one of the key factors.
Ananda? Same. So, and then I would like, with that, Ananda, I would like to say that Ananda became the T1, out of the 4 great, I would say, all fantastic. It's not a decision that I'm making here, by the way. It was the whole process, and this happened a couple of weeks ago, or maybe a month ago, and she was selected as the female Sustainable Entrepreneur of the Year. So thank you all for being here.